What's up, party people? G5 Productions in the place to be. Superman first class in the mix, and you can see behind me there's a lot of fun on the table and on the ground. Let's get it. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Gerald here. I'm going to rebuild the Krackin. I took it apart to do some maintenance, but I thought this was a good opportunity to explain exactly how I build it and just give you guys some pointers and tips if you're looking to take on a project like this. So we're just going to talk about the components first, what I'm going to do, and just put it all together. So smash that like button for me. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And if you want to keep up with all these cool videos, all you got to do is rock that bell. Let's get it. So as you can see, I have an assortment of equipment, and just to get into why we are taking everything apart, it's all about the maintenance today. I'm going to be dusting things off, and I'm going to hook up everything back into it and just show you guys how I'm doing it to the best of my abilities. I do have the SKB R102. That just basically means that it is 2 rack spaces on the front of the box and 10 spaces on the top. Now it does come with 2 side port covers, so one here on the left side, one here over on the right. Got these nice handles here. The top lid does lock, and it has a key that goes with it in case you wanted to ship your box. Here's a back lid cover, so the 2 side port covers are right here with the back lid right there. And I got the top lid hiding somewhere in the garage there. But the things we're going to be putting in here is the Behringer XR18 is the heart of it. I mean, this is the mixer that I use up to 18 channels. I do have an antenna distro with the microphones and all of the necessary cables and accessories. So there explains all the madness back here. Lighting control. So we got a DMX controller with the FlareCon on top. This is how I control all my wireless fixtures, and everything will be plugged into this unit here. Now as far as networking, you can see I don't have any faders or sliders on the mixer, so I have to connect a tablet or PC to it to control it, and I do that through my router to be more secure. And of course I got a switch because I like to network scan all of my microphones, so that allows enough ports to be able to accomplish both. So we're going to start this party off by knocking all the dust off that I can. Here and here is some tape, and the white gaffer's tape seems to have a little bit more of a residue. To clear that up, I'm just going to use some WD-40. Don't really take that much to get this off of here. In fact, it should come off fairly easy. Now, of course, I don't want the Krackin smelling like WD-40, so I went and got some Ajax dish detergent and poured it on here because this stuff is supposed to help break down oil, and I have a little bit of water here, so I'm just going to pour it in there and clean it all up. I'll take care of the outside in another manner later, but right now we're going to go ahead and push the mic racks in and load those in first. They're going to stick up to about right here. I'll still have clear access to run any cabling that I want to tape down or just, run while I have all this open. One trick I like to do is let gravity help, because sliding these in, they're just going to be tilted and canted and all that, and what I don't want is any stress on the screws. I'm racking 4 microphones because I do have another live sound event coming up in the near future. What you see is what you get so far, and again, I have plenty of space to run any cabling. This spider of cables are the BNC cables that hooks up to the back of the unit and also gives antenna power to all 4 of my microphones. One of the most difficult things to deal with in the box is this piece as far as wiring goes, because once I insert this into the box, it sits pretty close to the ground, so it's a little bit challenging to deal with the BNC cable. So on one end, I have everything labeled according to where they go in the microphones respectively. I decided to put the white gaffer's tape here because it just stands out in the box and a little bit easier to read. The other things that I did inside the box here was just kind of route all of these in a manner that I wanted to make them flow easy in the box for fit and troubleshooting. And of course, these ends that are unlabeled, they actually go into the back of the antenna distro. Let's go ahead and hook everything up. That was a little bit painful, but after playing some cable chase, finally got everything hooked up. So what I'm gonna do now is mount this in there. put a couple of screws here just to keep this in its perspective place. And we're gonna go ahead and do a fit test of all of these. So remember, this is mic 1 and mic 2, and then underneath is mic 3 and mic 4. So they're already kind of form fitted to where I want it. And then below mic 1 is 3A, so 3A over here, and 3B right in there. Everything's hooked up. So we're just fit testing everything. And remember, once this is mounted, everything will be in its perspective place. So the next item on the menu here I'm gonna deal with is the Behringer DJ power strip. Everything is labeled on the switches accordingly. Now, as far as where to plug things in the back, it's labeled right there too, so I don't have to like search and think about it too much. I've taken the power leads here for DMX controller and the FlareCon, and I just kind of butted them up to this power cable here. Another key harness to bridge the antenna distro to all of the microphones are the power leads. There's 4 power leads that goes to 4 microphones. Now, I did label these also with an actual label maker for this one. Underneath all these BNC cables is where I run these accordingly, like so. And I'm going to be taping this down to the floor of the Krackin. And this time I'm going to use some black Gaf tape because it leaves a little bit less of a residue. And then here are the power leads over here for 4 and number 2. I'm just basically getting everything in its generalized location. And then these 4 power leads right here are going to go right into this end of the antenna distro. This harness was already pre-built inside of the box. I'm gonna really leave it up to you guys to decide how you want to run your wires and cables and stuff like that. But for me, I like things nice and neat for troubleshooting purposes, and I feel like this works. We're gonna put the power brick for the antenna distro here. We're gonna Gaf tape it down once I identify a spot. This piece of the harness is going to rest underneath this riser right here, just kind of nice and neat. This is for the Behringer XR, so I'm gonna run it through and just kind of in there to the side for now. And here's the lead that goes into the antenna distro. So what I will have to do is just kind of bring the antenna distro down into the box accordingly. And as you can see here, there's the main power for the antenna distro. So it's important just to kind of have a method and think about things before you fully secure them and mount them down. I recommend making sure all of your cables are ran and untwisted. Like in this case, I'm just untwisting my barrel connector there before I lock it down. I think at this point here, it's safe for me to go ahead and pop in some Gaf tape right across here. Back to the rear perspective of all the microphone units here, I'm gonna go ahead and hook up the power respectively. So here's the power for mic lead number 2. These do get safety loops as well because I do store other stuff in this box like the FlareCon, microphones in the pouches, and sometimes that stuff moves around. So if I just plug these in, there's a chance that it could become unplugged and it's just something else I have to try to figure out and troubleshoot. Everything here is labeled. So this is power lead number 1 for mic number 1 with the safety loop, giving some extra slack here to make sure I can plug everything in accordingly. Now, if you have a hard time putting things in, just move stuff out of your way. Like if this was really a challenge, I would just remove these BNC cables. So as you can see, I'm not taping anything down just yet. I'm really just running cables, and here's the power lead for the Behringer XR18, right? And I'm gonna put some Gaf tape across about right here and about right there just to keep that harness in its place. So one of the first things I'm gonna go ahead and Gaf down is the power leads for the microphones right about here. That just looks like a good spot to go ahead and secure everything. So what this will allow me to do is actually write on the Gaf tape, and this time I'm gonna use a paint marker. So I got my mic powers labeled right here on the tape just so I know what's where. And there it is from another view. So 1 power, 1 and 3 power, mic power. So the next thing I'm going to be working on is networking for the microphones. So I have this switch which does need to be powered, and I do have up to 4 Cat 5 cables here that are really short. I will be making custom cables though, because I kind of want this one to fit a little bit more custom than what this cable looks like. But for now, what I'm planning on doing is just figuring out a cool way to Velcro this in place. All right, everybody, so what I did with the switch was just hook everything in the back of the microphones to network, and I fit tested it right in here in this position and Velcro these cables down. I'll probably do a little bit more of a Velcro just so they're kind of, you know, in their respective places when I unplug them. On the bottom of this, I'm gonna put the soft side of this Velcro. So got the peel and stick Velcro with the soft side up against the unit. I'm just gonna maneuver it in place right here, and We're gonna put it right about here. I had to move everything inside because it just really started getting hot, but I got the Velcro strip on the bottom of the switch right there, and that's a good spot for it because the next thing that rests in the box is the Behringer XR, and it doesn't quite go, but so far maybe about right here. So everything is still breathable. I don't have to tape any other cables down. All right, everybody, so the next thing we're going to deal with is the power for the switch here. And all this does is allow me to network scan. So if I could power this, I can network scan all 4 microphones. So since we're transitioning to the router for the moment here, I want you guys to take note of 2 things. I have heavy duty Velcro right here, and I have 2 pieces mounted right there. And this yellow Cat 5 is an out port that comes out of here, and I'm gonna route it around to go into the switch in the box. And this blue cable here is the one that goes to the Behringer XR18. So the router allows me a secure connection to the mixer, and the out port here allows further networking into the switch. And so I decided to leave these 2 free, so in case I wanted to network out to, say, another mic rack with another switch attached to it or something like that. So I got a lot of utility here. Now, in dealing with the router situation, the yellow one is going to go to the switch inside, and the blue one here is for the Behringer XR18 mixer, but also the router needs power, right? So this harness is going to allow me to enough length. My thoughts were enough length to pull it out of the box and sit it on the desktop. And the other thought process is, well, I kind of mount it right here so it's high and, you know, on heavy duty Velcros. The next thing to get power to that switch, here's the power lead for it, and here's the power lead for the DMX controller. So what I've been doing in the past was just running this right through in there, and I'll show it to you on the other side of the box once we flip back to the top of it. We also got the DMX controller, so I'm gonna route this behind everything and just let this cable naturally ride hidden behind everything. Now, last time I did this, I did use some gaffer's tape, and I just kind of wanted to see if there's a new possibility for all my cable runs in the box where I can make things a little bit cleaner and a little bit simpler for troubleshooting. But so far, everything looks like it's you know, in a nice position. And also, one thing I want to do is have clear access to this cascade out and this cascade out in case I need to attach the BNC cables, right? I think before I had this kind of over here, but either way, I want to make sure all of that stuff is good and clear. Thanks for hanging in there with me so far. So here it is. I've got the DMX control power, and I also have the power to that switch. I don't think I'll be taping that down per se, but what I will do is make sure I run this in a logical manner that, you know, it can be moved if I decided to unvelcro this thing temporarily. I'm going underneath all the BNC cables on this side of the mic, and also underneath all of the other Cat 5 cables here. I am now providing networking from the router to the switch with this yellow cable. But here's the power for the switch. So I'm gonna run this underneath everything, right? And it just barrels right into the switch right there. And I'm not going to be taping that down except for in one spot, and that's right here. So the XR18 mixer's a pretty simple device, and this mixer does not have any sliders, faders, or nothing like that, and it has 2 things going for it: built-in Wi-Fi, or I hooked the router up to it. So earlier, you know, I mentioned to you guys that I have this blue cable, and so what I usually do with the blue cable is it will come up in the box and just simply hook in right there. This is an audio cable for my phone that generally plugs into channel 17 and 18, but also mounted up against it is a lightning cable, right? Up to a point though, because this is how I power my phone and get audio to the phone in it. And generally this just kind of hangs down inside the box like so. And I usually just route this underneath and plug it into that power brick in the back. But over here on this side, there's a fan. So it is absolutely imperative that I do have clearance there. And this is turned on always. It is plugged into the back of this power strip up top. Now these 2 cables are my audio left and right out. So I have power plugged into the side. We're gonna get my audio left and right out right over here into the main right and main left. Now, because I don't feel like I have a need to have to label those, I don't, because they both just go into a single powered speaker. And even if I run it to some front of house sound, that's still irrelevant to me. So in the meantime, here's what I do for audio for the microphones. These ends here go into the backs of the microphones, and they are labeled accordingly. And these ends go into the mixer labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. So on my mixer, on channels 9, 10, 11, 12 is where I generally house all of my microphones. So there's mic 1, mic 2 next, and here's mic 3, and mic 4. There is Velcro periodically throughout the harness. Although this is like crazy long, I was considering taking these leads and just redoing them to be exact fit to each microphone accordingly. That would certainly clean things up in the box, but sometimes I do unhook these and bridge them to my X32 compact, so the length would then come in handy. I'm going to take all of these leads and hook them into the back of the microphones respectively. So there's what it looks like from a top view. Mic 2 and mic 4 underneath, mic 1 and then mic 3 underneath. Eventually I will be replacing this white cable with a black cable, but right now I can't justify going to spend 10 to 15 bucks when I have so many of these cables still laying around. Alright, so this is not just wiggling around randomly all over the place, especially when it relates to connection to the mixer. I'm gonna just go ahead and Velcro this down, and I got a way to pull this like really tight, okay? And that's important. So the tighter you can get that, the better. And again, the goal is to not have that come loose for any reason. So there we go with that part. And I'm gonna do one more right about here. So as you guys can see, I'm a real stickler for Velcro. But they come in handy. It's really a convenience thing. It's really a security thing, especially with regards to cables coming loose and stuff like that. But it's just, you know, aesthetically more pleasing to look at and troubleshoot. It has so many different benefits. You know, here's the whole harness. You know, if I unplug one, for example, it can just hang there temporarily, if, you know, or whatever, you know. So a lot of options, a lot of convenience here. And here's the phone cable. So I generally don't run that under there because I may move the phone in different positions. Sometimes I set it on top of the DMX controller, for example. So, you know, me running this under here might pose a potential issue for me. So I'll just do it like that. And I do kind of rest this right there. So let's go ahead and mount the Behringer in place. All right, so I'm pretty much done with the antenna distro, so I'm gonna go ahead and mount that in place as well. And next, the power strip. All right, everybody, so in checking things out in the back of the box, there's a couple of things we need to deal with. One of those is the position of this box to get gaff tape. So I said I was pretty much going to gaff tape it down to the riser. These audio cables, they will just make their way down on the bottom end, but above the gaffer's tape. So what I will have to do temporarily is pull up on the antenna distro so that I can get the gaff tape, you know, in there accordingly and above this thing. So it's going to kind of rest right there. And then what I did was, as opposed to running this around the sides, I just came right through these two BNC cables with the hookup right here for the iPad, right? So I'll run all the access back into the box. So it's just really a much cleaner look. And honestly, I'm still debating if I want to do the same thing with this harness, because I think there may actually be some benefit to me doing that, right, versus the way it is now, just for troubleshooting in the back and being able to you know, put cables up a little bit better when it's all said and done. I have that switch in the box, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift it more forward in the box because it's kind of resting up against these BNC cables, which is not a terrible problem until I have to run like a cascade cable here, and it's already kind of tight, so I don't want to have to contend with this switch and trying to hook up another BNC cable right there. So let me just lift this up now so I can deal with some things. So here we go. That's what I did right there, just to keep that up and out of the way. And I have plenty of space to work with. So in fact, let me do this. Let me just take this harness completely out of the way here. And so this is what I'm working with, right? Got plenty of space now to put this in place. And again, I wanted to keep this out of the way of the cascade cable. So I'm gonna run it just kind of out of the way here. So here we go. Right about there should be good. And the gaff tape that I'm propping everything up is what I need. So here we go. All right, so here's the plan, here's the method. What I wanted to do was put this on the power brick about halfway in and get plenty of it around both sides and be able to get it onto the riser. So what I'm gonna do with the front side is flip it over and stick it to itself. And because I'm going in kind of blind, I'm gonna do the same thing over here to this part. okay? So that takes care of that. Now, I know in the general vicinity of where I wanted this was about right here onto the riser, okay? So I didn't want to have to contend with that other cable. So I'm gonna put it about right here. Now, what I'm gonna do is in the back of this, I am lifting up my audio cable and my whatever that power cable's for that I don't remember. And I'm gonna deal with the back of this first. So I'm butting up right to the riser and making sure there's no air pockets, and the rest of the gaff tape goes all the way flat on the entire floor, right? So it's good in the back side. Now, in the front side here, I wanna make sure that, again, I have a good snug fit here. So I'm pulling down straight and tight. And now we're gonna drop that antenna distro back in the box, which takes the slack off right here. So I can mount this to the corner. I got plenty of nice slack right there. I got my audio cables I'm able to tuck in underneath right there. And I got this coming through two BNC cables over here, nice and tight. And yeah, we're looking good here. All right, so to catch everybody up, what I did was in the top of the box, I reran this harness for the router here. For me, it's all about troubleshooting and, you know, just what makes sense in my mind. So here's the harness for the router. And let's take it out so you guys can see what I see. And I'm basically now in the top of the box, pulling out any extra slack to ensure that I have as much of it as needed to be able to move this router, because generally it's going to mount right there and it's going to house right there. So at this point, I'm not as concerned with being able to take it out the box. I could always reroute that later. So here we go. Number one, it's going to always be the mixer. And number two is going to be the switch. And then there is the power. So let's Velcro it in place. And it kind of looks like that now. And then when I store it in the box, it either can mount like this, or I can flip it the other way. Before I commit to this thought right here so far, I just wanted to do a quick fit test. So I'm gonna take my harness here for the speaker, and I'm gonna just kind of tuck it over to one side over here. I'm gonna take the power for the whole entire box, roll it up accordingly, and I'm gonna just roll that right off, like in the side right there. And what that does is it gives me the ability to take this router and just kind of tuck it in the box, allowing me to smoothly put the back cover on. So I think I like that so far. All right, everybody, let's go ahead now and deal with the DMX controller. So this is what I use to control lighting, and on the back of the unit I have a DMX out and I have power right here. I don't use MIDI or any of these other type of connections and stuff like that, and I'm not even sure what the USB does for this particular unit. But what I do know is this switch right here is important, because sometimes in fiddling around in the back I do knock it over to MIDI and I can't figure out why my DMX controller is not responding. Well, that's why. So just make sure if you have this DMX unit, put it over here. But other than that, we have a power switch that remains on because I plug it in right there, and everything's up there in the power strip. So here's how it works. I have the FlareCon unit that also has its power attached and the DMX in attached. So the DMX out cable right here generally goes into the back of the unit, just like so, right? So nothing hard, nothing difficult about it. And then the FlareCon's power, it's going to get routed on the side of the box over here, so I can plug it into the power strip up top. Now, as for the power for the DMX, that's pretty simple really, and I gotta turn it so you guys can see it, but you simply just plug it in. It's a barrel connector, and then you turn it either way so it don't pull out. So if you turn it enough, you can actually pull this out if you get the right position. There it is. I'm making sure this is not a twisted cable, so when I plug the barrel connector in, I only have to twist it just a little bit to, you know, just make sure it's locking in. So, and that's pretty much it for the back of this unit. So we're gonna run the power like down into the box and along the side. In case I reference this box as the DMX controller box, this is actually the FlareCon plug. The DMX controller is already plugged in and its power cable is routed that way. So what I'm gonna do here is take the FlareCon and I'm gonna plug it in to the power strip. Take note that everything here is labeled accordingly. So this is the speaker cable, but when I'm not using it, I'm using the DDJ in this plug, so I unplug this one and plug the DDJ in, and it works out just fine for me, right? So basically what I have to do now is figure out a way to deal with all of the excess cable in the box where it's easy for me to troubleshoot. And one way I deal with that is I use gaffer's tape. So I may take this down and run it in a way where I can gaff tape this, say, on the side of the mixer somehow. But in the meantime, let's plug the router back in. And looks like everything is good to go here. I do have one more thing to do, and that is mount these two units right here all the way, but I'm not gonna keep you guys around for that. I'm just gonna put screws in and that'll be mounted. So there it is, everybody. I decided to clean the Krackin up, but did take the time to show you guys how I put it all together. So I hope you found this video enjoyable. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. How would you use the Krackin if you had one? Is there anything that you think I can improve on? So I'm curious to know what you guys think. Other than that, I'm Gerald with G5 Productions, DJ Sound and Lighting. And if you guys don't mind, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and of course, if you want to keep up with these videos, just turn on the notifications. If you would like to learn more about what we do here at G5, just hit us up at www.g5productions.com. Let's party.